I think like affirmative action, BE, that sort of stuff, like rubs people the wrong way, but I don't think they understand the foundation of it and the basis of systemic racism, because a lot of people and like, I mean, I'm including you guys in this because a lot of you were born like between 1990, like in the 1990s, right? So like, you know, a lot of people who are like, well, you weren't born during apartheid, why does it matter? I mean, it matters because you have to understand that why are people the way they are, or where have they come from, or what were their parents, you know, upbringing and education that allowed them to not succeed in a way that somebody who was privileged during apartheid was allowed to succeed. And the same thing goes for America. I mean, they're like, I mean, so they ended, well, discrimination technically like in the 60s or whatever it was, when the first Black woman got to vote. And I mean, that's how many years later, and they've still not, you know, tackled this problem properly. I mean, they still have affirmative action in the States. And we're 20 years in. I mean, it's not going to change. And I don't think, I was very ignorant growing up I mean, I'm privileged because I'm not Black, but I'm not white either. So I'm in the middle. And I recognize my privilege because people tend to treat me as an Indian person differently as well. Like to maybe not as well as a white person, but not as badly as a Black person. So, you know, because I mean, in apartheid, they did have those, like, what are they called?
Levels.
Yes, yeah. So when I was growing up, I was very ignorant. I used to always think, well, why don't they just give the best person the job? Like, it shouldn't be a race thing. It should just be the best person. But I've realized that that is what they are doing. They are just preferencing people of color with the same skill set, because in the past, they're not hiring unqualified people for the job just because they're Black or people of color. They're hiring people of the same skill set that are Black or of color, because in the past, all those positions just went to white people. So that was always my question, was like, why don't you just get the best person for the job? But they're just, you know, giving people an opportunity that they've never had before.
Exactly.
Well, that is my understanding of it. And
I feel,
yeah, carry on.
I feel it's very hard for a white person to understand, because we've never had to, I mean, besides the BE thing, you know, where, okay, we're not getting jobs because someone else is getting it. That's literally the only thing that I felt as a white person that is not privileged to us. But I don't think white people, or me, let me speak about myself, could ever completely understand what a Black person has to go through, because we've never ever had to deal with someone judging us based on our skin color. Just the fact that if a Black person walks past, a Black male walks past compared to a white male walks past, you're going to feel unsafe if a Black guy walks past. You're never going to feel unsafe if it's a white guy. So a white person has never had to face that kind of judgments. So I think it's also, you know, for white privilege, we can't, and we don't understand white privilege, because to us, white privilege isn't a thing. It's just life. We can't comprehend that Black people feel a certain way compared to us. Does that make sense? So I think that's why white people can't understand Black Lives Matter, because we don't understand the hurts. We don't understand the pain. We can try and understand. We can try and understand, but we will never feel it.
Yeah.
No, sorry. I think where like the discrepancy lies is in education, in understanding, like if you just look at a basic timeline of the years of slavery and colonization, there's generational hurts, and you can't take that away. Like you can't undo that. And as much as people are like, "Ken, let's just move on, like let's just all be happy clappy,"
Yeah.
it's like you've got to understand that those things that happen in the past are still affecting things that are happening to this day. And I mean, this is maybe a little existential, but I read a book by Bruce Lipton called The Biology of Belief. And it's all about genetics and genes and how memory lives in your genes. So something that happens to my great-great-grandmother could possibly be internally affecting me in my way about thinking of myself as lesser
Wow.
than, you know, somebody else, not because of just the way I was raised in this life, but like generational, like, you know, trauma that could be like affecting. I mean, and we don't know everything about DNA and genes yet. So we don't know, like, you know, those sort of things. And I do feel like a lot of it is like, I mean, yeah, I'm angry about the way my parents were treated, about the way my grandparents were treated. You can't undo that because I love my grandparents, I love my parents. So I'm going to hold that, as unevolved as that may sound, I'm going to hold that kind of hurt, you know, in me against people who may have treated them badly based on their skin color. And I'm
Yeah, for
sure
sure.
you guys can relate to that. Because don't
Yeah,
people,
definitely.
like, I mean, I often hear people, like, specifically white people, when they talk about, you know, crime that's committed or whatever, then they generalize. Then they're like, all black people are like this, or like whatever, all Indian people are like this. And then they as a group collectively dislike that group because of something that's happened to someone they know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like just
Yeah.
based on like that one particular incident, you kind of like have a like a blanket idea that everybody from that particular group is like a
Yeah.
particular type of way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're like you were saying, like with the generational thing, you know, too. Like for some people, you know, they see apartheid and, you know, colonization and, you know, slavery as like a thing of the past. You know, it's like, oh, that happened so many years ago. Like, I mean, how are you guys still talking about it now? But the fact of the matter is, like you said, the knock-on effects still are very much present for a lot of us today. The like just the way the whole economic system of the world is shaped is based on, you know, slavery and colonization, and that's going to keep certain people in a position of privilege and other people in a position of disadvantage. That's just how the world works today. So that's why people will still, you know, will still feel that hurt, that trauma. It'll still stay with us for a very long time until we can work towards kind of like correcting those systems. But again, that takes us, you know, really making some big changes in our lives. It takes us, you know, some of us recognizing our privilege. It takes some of us, you know, wanting to relinquish some of that you know, that power that we have.
Yeah.
And not many people want to do that as well. Like if you have that privilege, you don't really want to
Give it up.
get rid of it because, you know, you're in a position, a superior position. You may not really see it as privilege, but it's just the thought of having to relinquish what you think is your power to somebody else. That kind of scares a lot of people as well.
And what I also find frustrating is when people are like, oh, but what about Beyonce or Obama or Oprah? Like, you know, they did it, they made it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but then I could just be like, what about Bill Gates? Like, you're not doing anything with your life. Like, I mean, it's like, they're just people who have done great things. Just because they transcended that barrier of race doesn't mean that it's easy for everybody to do that. And I'm not saying it was easy for any of them. I'm pretty sure it was 10 times harder for Obama than it was for our Agent Orange to become president, you know?